I think we can go ahead and get started because an hour actually goes very quickly when we have this many people aboard. So it's so wonderful to see everyone. Good evening, everyone. I am Christine Harriger. I'm the director of the Center for Career Development and Life Design. And I am joined with Amber Beck, our coordinator, whom many of you know very well, as she really does a lot of the direct pieces of all of this. Also, Lauren Walker up in the corner in charge of alumni relations. And Barbara up in the other corner. Isn't this convenient where everybody is seated? Up in the right-hand corner as you look at the screen. We also have three panelists, Myla Johnson, Hannah Olaf, and Molly Ward. And they will share some information with us. Really, this is just like we do when we meet in person. And it's really a congratulatory opportunity for us to gather kind of together and put some final pieces together for what was a crazy little 2020 pandemic year, but still successful as we were able to convert the internships over to a remote status. And I think the students will share their experiences, and then we will open it up to some Q&A. We have some valued alumni involved, and we want to hear from them as well. And anybody else who would like to do some sharing. So we're going to start with Amber Beck, and then we're going to go to our three panelists, and then we'll open it up for sharing at large. Okay, Amber.
Thank you, Christine. So yes, I'm just going to give a little bit, share a little bit of information about how we prepared for January, including how we worked with employers and prepared our students for January. So we figured it out pretty early on that our students were going to be interning remotely during January. And so we really focused on working with our employers, our existing employers, to convert internships to remote fashion. And so we updated our employer information to include remote internship information and also best practices in an effort to help employers kind of structure internships and kind of help them build a framework for remote internships, because we knew that this whole idea of remote internships would be very new to our employers, just as much as it was for us. I'm going to share my screen, but I'm pleased to show you that we were able to convert the majority of our existing internship employers to remote. And we even had quite a few organizations that hosted multiple Hollins interns during January. And those companies are America Needs You, Estee Lauder, National Dance Institute, Peace Boat, Climate Central hosted a handful in Princeton. The VMFA in Richmond hosted a couple, Vascular Perfusion Solutions in San Antonio, American Rivers in DC, and the DC Arts and Humanities Collaborative. And then finally, the White House Historical Association hosted multiple students. And we also were pleased to reactivate some employers that we hadn't partnered with in a few years. And those are Wingo and Stonewall Community Foundation in New York. We were particularly excited to add these companies back onto our listing, especially because of their focus on the LGBTQ community. We knew this would be particularly of interest to our students, so we were really excited to add them back onto our roster. So once we confirmed all of our employers for January, we then focused on preparing our students for remote internships and this whole new idea. So as most of you know, we coordinate all of the signature applications and send those to employers. Once students are selected for internships by the employer, then we prepare the employer and the student for the month of January. And we make sure the students are registered for academic credit for their internships. So in addition to all of that, we also held orientation sessions, which we do every year, but this year we put particular focus on remote work practices and preparing them for that remote world. And of course, these sessions also cover things like workplace etiquette, setting goals for your internship using framework like the NACE 8, and then, you know, thanking your supervisors, thanking alumni and any, you know, connections you make during the month. So in addition to those orientation sessions, we also did check-ins with each of our interns because we wanted to make sure they were comfortable with the remote internship idea, and also just make sure they were all squared away for January and their remote internship, and just reiterate that the Career Center was here to support them throughout the month of January. So speaking of support during January, we also had our awesome alumni who were supporting us throughout the J term, and especially our city internship organizers, which were Tegan Harcourt and Kelsey DeForest in New York, and Maya Rue, Katie Asip, and Barbara Duckworth, AKA Duck, in DC. And they all, you know, through a bunch of a wonderful set of events in January. The first one was a kickoff, talking to students about maximizing their January internship. And then they had a couple sessions about living and working in DC. And then the final session was a special event just for our interns, which was covering life after Hollins. So now I'm going to stop sharing and actually turn it over to Duck for a moment to talk about how they plan these events and how they connected with students during this unique year.
Thank you, Amber. Nice to see you on screen after all of the back and forth coordination we have done to get to this point. So it's great to be here tonight. We got into kind of a rhythm during the month of January where we had a Zoom call every week. And I don't know about you, but last week I felt like my schedule was a little bit light because we didn't have a call. So it's nice to be back together tonight. And I hope you all are happy, and I probably know you're very happy to be back with Hollins on campus, or certainly with them virtually. I want to echo what Amber said about the great support we had from our support alumni in New York and Washington. Kelsey DeForest and Tegan Harcourt have done this for a couple of years. And not only do they share the information with other alumni in New York, but they make themselves available. The same thing for Maya and Katie Asip in Washington. They both have had internships in Washington, so they can talk not only about living in Washington, but also what it's like from a career perspective. There are a couple of other people I want to give a shout out to. One of them is Val Abbott, whose face I see on the screen. Val not only hosted an intern this January, but she also helped with one of her, I guess, classmates find internships, I think, in San Antonio. So Val, thanks for doing double duty. And the other person that I want to recognize, because it really shows you the breadth of the alumni participation, is Katie Grandelli, whose class of 2020, Katie is, I would say, our youngest alumni sponsor. And Katie not only found an internship for us this year, but she was also the contact at her location. So it goes to show you the breadth of the alumni participation in the program. This program started as a result of the strategic plan in 2012, where there was a concentrated effort to expand alumni engagement with students. And from that point, alumni were contacted and asked to find intern opportunities for Hollins students. as Amber said, many of them have been original from when the program started, primarily in New York and Washington, but we've made a conscious effort to expand the locations over the last several years. And I know this year we had internships available in Richmond, Atlanta, Princeton, and San Antonio, Texas. So J-term is a great opportunity for Hollins alumni to interact with students. I'm really looking forward to hearing your comments tonight and think this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the opportunities that we have to engage with you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Doc. So before I turn it over to the students, I'm going to share my screen one more time. I just wanted to share with you all, make sure I'm on the right screen, pardon me. Some of the supervisor comments that we received this year about our interns. And I mean, this is a lot in alignment with other years, but I just thought these were some really good quotes that you would all appreciate seeing. But yes, so this year we had 42 students complete internships with our signature program, working in areas like biotechnology, legislation, publishing, research, marketing and communications, development. So lots of varied experiences this year. And I think it went really well considering it was a whole new idea. I was really pleased with the student feedback and the supervisor feedback from the program this year. So it was definitely a success. And I hope you'll enjoy these quotes from employers. So now I will stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over. Mila, I'm going to have you speak first. If you could share a bit about your J-term experience. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Amber. Hi, everyone. I'm Mila. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior this year. I am a biology major. And before I start speaking about my wonderful internship, I don't know if you can hear it or not. I am sitting in front of a wall that constantly hums. It's because there's like mechanical stuff in there. It's fine. It's just, I don't know if you can hear it or not. So I'm sorry if you can. I was able to intern with Vascular Perfusion Solutions this term, or this J-term. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to intern with them is that I've always wanted to go into medical research, and that's what VPS does. They are working on a device to help like organs that are transplanted like last longer outside of the body. And so I'm not particularly interested in the field of transplantation. However, I am very interested in medical research. And so that's why I really wanted to go into this internship. I also knew the intern from the year before, and I was able to talk to her about it and say, hey, did you like it? Did you not? What did you enjoy? What were all of the, like, tell me everything, basically. So those are the things that really brought me to the internship. So at VPS, I did so much. It was just 4 weeks, but it felt like much longer. I was able to help present to the entire team, really, of engineers, researchers, like CEOs, like that whole team, everyone. I was able to present to them and another intern a new scientific article that was published and to like help make suggestions for their own research based on this article. I also was able to do some collect some histology data for them. So they sent me pictures of cells, and I was able to take measurements for them on those pictures with my laptop. I was also able to help write their research paper, which will be published eventually. They used some of the data that I gathered from the histology to get an FDA breakthrough distinction. And like I just mentioned, the paper that I helped write will be published eventually, and I get co-authorship on it. And I am so excited for that. That's just really, really cool. I really enjoyed working with them. Obviously, I'm giving them glowing reviews as they deserve. But I really enjoyed doing all of the little tasks that they had me do, like little in terms of short-term projects, not like you have a whole month to do all of these things. It was like, this week you're doing this week you're doing this. And it was nice to be in that constantly changing environment because in my experience, that's the way medical research goes. You do different things different weeks depending on what needs to happen. And learning how all of that work actually gets done for medical research was super enlightening. And it was nice to finally step into the field that I want to go into someday. Of course, this was a remote internship, and that's new and different for Hollins. I am a type 1 diabetic and an asthmatic. So COVID scares me a lot. So a remote internship was really the only safe way for me to complete this internship, which was one like I was super excited to do, obviously, and two, it's also a graduation requirement. So in order for me to graduate this term, which I'm supposed to be doing, I needed an internship, and I needed to do it either past J term or this term, and virtual one was the only way to do that and keep me safe. So I really enjoyed being able to do the work virtually. I still did the same amount of work. The only thing I didn't get to do was really work in their lab. Regret, like I would like to have had more of. However, I get a ton of lab work at Hollins in the bio department. That's just the way it goes. My laptop was also kind of finicky at some points with not wanting to use Google or Microsoft Teams, but that's fine. She's an old laptop. I love her, but she was like a little fickle. And then the other question that I was asked to kind of talk about was, how does this internship affect my career goals? I was able to step into the field that I really want to go into someday. I was able to do that where I hadn't really been able to do that at Hollins. You can research here, sure, but you can't really work with, like you can't do the work with transplantation here, really. That's not something that we could really do like physically here. We're a very small school. We're a small liberal arts school. And for that, I love Hollins. However, it is very difficult to do things that would get you an FDA distinction on campus. So while I appreciate Hollins for everything she is, being able to really step into the field that I want to go into after graduation was really, really wonderful for me. And I will pass that on to the next speaker. I don't know who that's going to be.
So what I'll have the other two panelists, I'll have you introduce yourself, tell me your class year and your major. I don't know if you shared that, Mila, forgive me. Your class year and your major.
I'm a biology major and I'm the class of 2021.
Okay, thank you. I know you shared that throughout your sharings. So yeah, Molly and Hannah, if you could introduce yourselves and share your class year and your major, and then go into your internship, that would be great. We're going to save questions for the end, but please feel free to put them in the chat if you have any questions. And we encourage all of our interns that are here to answer those questions if you want to share. And even if you want to share anyway, we'd love to hear about your experience. So Molly, can you share?
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Molly. I'm a junior and I'm a history and art history double major. And this J term, I was interning for the White House Historical Association in the marketing and communications department. I was interested in this internship because graduation is coming up, but I still have some more time than seniors. And I really had no idea what I wanted to do. And marketing communications had just come up with my advisor as something maybe I would be interested in. So I applied for this internship, not knowing anything about the field and just kind of wanting some experience, see if it would be potentially something I would want to do after graduation. And I think it is. I had a great experience. It was a great opportunity for me to really learn a lot about the field and everything. So, but some of the main projects that I was working on was the White House Historical Association releases a presidential ornament every year. and this year is LBJ. So a lot of the work that I was doing was a lot of intensive research on LBJ and how to get in contact with a lot of organizations he was related to and a lot of institutions that he was a part of. So my main job was working on a lot of things with LBJ. And other than that, I worked on the collection website review project, and that was basically going through all of the articles and collections throughout the website and looking for historical errors and grammatical errors and just maybe some things that were written in a non-politically correct way and changing them and making them like a really clean version of the website. And that was an awesome experience because I had no experience working in the back end of websites or with a CMS system at all. And I got very fluent in working with Craft CMS and learning how to work it with the back end of websites. And then lastly, another large project that I worked on was gathering content for an article about the first, not the first lady, the vice president and her spouse, and kind of what this new generation with the first female vice president will entail. And so that was really cool, and I feel really lucky that this was the January that I got to work with the White House. It was definitely a very unique experience and something that I'm very grateful I got this J term instead of maybe last J term or next J term. It was crazy and hectic, and I had a really awesome experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing, Molly. Our last student that we're going to ask to share is Hannah Olaf.
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Olaf, and I am a junior. My major is biology, and this J term I got the opportunity to intern for the Atlanta Botanic Garden. And this is a garden that is in Atlanta, but it mainly focuses on conserving plants for the purpose of display or education and research purposes. So I mainly worked with the seed banking and micropropagation departments. So the main reason I chose this project was because it was different to the field I was used to, and I wanted to challenge myself and get to know more about it and more about seed banking and what it's included. And it also offered the opportunity to do actual field research, which I wanted to get an exposure to since I'm interested in medical research as well, and I wanted to know like what goes behind an actual research, what goes behind designing an experiment and actually carrying it out. So during my J term, what I did was I conducted research uh, to find information about the shelf life of temperate versus tropical orchid seeds that have not been seed banked. So the main aim of the organization was to find out how long these seeds would be like viable or be able to germinate if they haven't been stored. So in my first week, it was orientation, and I did not know a lot about seed banks at first, and it was really helpful to. I was provided information. My supervisor basically guided me through it. I read different articles on seed banking, and then about different types of germination tests, and it was really great to know more about the field I was going into. And as I read, I got to know more about like what the research meant. So what I did was I received a bunch of pictures of seeds that they had already uh, um, done a germination test on. So these were like on plates on agar plates, and I would just get the pictures of the seeds and basically count these seeds based on the germination stages we previously defined. So there are 5 stages, and I would categorize each pictures into which stages they fell. And I organized that data and finally analyzed it to find if there was a difference in temperate versus tropical seeds. And I also did a second test where we um, checked if the time period made a difference. So the seeds were sown at different times, and there are some that were sown for like only 6 months and some greater than that. And so we classified them based on that to see if the time period also made a difference. So my final results, like after analysis, did not show any significant difference between the temperate and tropical seeds. But we did see a slight decrease over time and the vibe and the germination abilities of the seeds. As the longer they stayed outside, the lower their germination was. And so this helped open up like more research questions, what to improve on in future research designs, to work on the limitations we faced in this research. And it helped to see what improvements can be made in terms of storage for Atlanta Botanic Garden. We saw how some seeds needed to be stored earlier to preserve their germination. And it was really fun to actually do this research, go behind it, and how to see how to organize data and do statistical analysis in an actual in an actual scenario. And it really helped me to have my supervisor guide me through all of it. And although it was a remote experience and I actually didn't get the chance to go to the lab, which I would have done and conducted the entire thing, um, it was interesting because I had gone back to Ethiopia this J term and I had to do it from another country with a different time zone. So I had to put all of that into consideration when doing, and getting the ability to do this internship from a whole different country was a really great experience for me and a great opportunity that I got this in J term. And it did strengthen my interest in research a lot. So I'm really glad for this internship. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate it. So we don't, if you have questions, feel free to enter them in the chat. I will wait a moment for those to pop in. And like I said before, we encourage all of our interns to feel free to answer any questions. I am curious for those that didn't speak, hopefully others will speak up. I am curious, would you consider doing a remote internship again? And why or why not? So anybody that wants to speak to that, feel free to unmute.
I would certainly do one again. I really enjoyed being able to, well, truthfully, I really like to be able to stay at home. So it was nice to still be home, like with my dogs 24/7, but then at the exact same time, I was getting this really, really incredible opportunity. Um, and I was with American River, so it was already kind of a unique situation that they are a national organization. So they were already pretty well adept to Zoom conferences. And so instead of having to go to Washington, D.C., I got to do it from my home.
Okay, I see a question in the chat. How did you interact with your supervisor? Daily calls, email, Zoom?
I know personally, my supervisors and I, we exchanged phone numbers fairly quickly, and we set up like a text thread between myself, the other intern, and then both of our supervisors that we could text each other quickly if we needed something. And then we would also have roughly, well, sometimes more than once weekly, but we had a few meetings on Microsoft Teams, which my laptop protested every single time. I don't know why.
And I see that Christine Emmerich answered that question as well in the chat. She did daily phone calls and weekly Zoom calls during her internship. Joyce would like to learn the challenges that Hannah had to connect with from such a distance, technological challenges. Did anybody have any technological challenges? And Hannah, please speak to that, but if any other students, do let us know.
Yeah, I did face a bit of a challenge, especially because of the time difference. But my supervisor was kind enough to take that time zone difference into consideration, and we would always meet up at 10 a.m. here, which would be 6 p.m. back home. So that was good for me. And as far as the internet connection goes, I did have some trouble sometimes. It was actually more stable than I expected it to be, but on the days that it didn't work for me, I would go to an internet cafe or a hotel nearby and then sit there and do my Zoom calls there. So it was basically mostly Zoom calls and emails for me as well. And that's what I
Thanks, Hannah. So I'm curious what others besides our speakers, what your favorite parts of your internship were, if anyone could share.
I would love to answer that one. Again, I was with American Rivers and I had such a phenomenal time with that company. They welcomed me from day one as if I had worked for them for years. And it was so cool. Like I had on day two, I was invited to a full staff meeting with the CEO. And so everybody, the whole company was there and he even like welcomed me to them. And it was incredible. And then they gave me an opportunity to do interviews for my research. I was doing equity research on dam removal and restoring areas for impoverished or minority groups. And where was it go? So I was interviewing employees to see what experiences they've had out in the field, except every single one of those employees kind of used that as a loophole to just get to talk to me. And they would be like, so what are you doing? How can we help you get there? Or who can we connect you with? Or what questions do you have for a working individual? And they would just allow me to pick their brain or just give me little anecdotes of like, they're like, oh, I remember when I was in your place and like I went through XYZ to get my job. And it was so incredible. Everyone there just like without missing a beat, just treated me like they've known me. And that was so much fun.
I would say for me, the favorite part of my internship, I interned in the office of Senator Jennifer Boysko in the Virginia State Senate. And I think my favorite part of the internship was really getting to work hands-on with legislation. Like I got to write press conference statements, media releases, statements for committees to help pass bills. And I think the size of the team was perfect for me. It was my supervisor, Senator Boysko herself, another legislative aide, and then two other interns. So it was like the perfect size team for me. And I just loved it. And I've stayed in contact with everybody. And they were really appreciative of my work and the work of the other interns. And it was just such a welcoming environment.
And Claire, were you in person? You weren't remote, were you?
No, I was remote.
Oh, okay.
Claire, how did you interact with the other interns? Did you have separate times that you would kind of collaborate and interact with them?
It was a little difficult because there were students at University of Richmond, so their classes were in session, so they had much shorter hours than I did. They worked part-time and I was working full-time, but we kept in contact through email. We had weekly Google Meet calls with everybody. We all had each other's phone numbers, so they were able to text me with questions that they had when we started to transition them to taking on the work that I had been doing at the end of my internship.
Okay. We did get a question in the chat from Duck. Thank you. If you mentored with an alumna, will you stay in contact? Did this give you ideas about other conversations with alumni?
I guess I can speak. I wrote it in the chat, but my name's Christine. I'm a junior, double majoring in international studies and political science. I signed up for a mentor, and her name is escaping me right now. I feel awful, but she was really sweet. And she had previously worked in the CIA, and I had told her that that was an interest of mine. I'm very interested in working internationally, whether that be through the CIA or foreign service. And so I had so many questions for her. I wanted to know like what she did after Hollins. Was the transfer from Hollins to her master's program or into the workforce very difficult? And she was very honest, very sweet. We were both waiting for each other to ask questions because that's just how Hollins has kind of prepared us. Just the other person asked questions and you just listen. So we were both quiet for a while. But she was very sweet, very informative. And we have, she has agreed to continue being in contact with me so that if I have questions along the way, if I need some guidance, she is more than willing to answer them for me.
So I am going to put Mila on the spot for a moment. I know, Mila, you worked with Michelle Watt at BPS. What was it like working so closely with her during J-term? Do you think it made your experience more valuable, more intense?
I really enjoyed working with Michelle, although we didn't work super closely. I was mostly working with Christina, who was one of the people doing the research. But any time I got to spend with Michelle was worth double its weight in gold. Michelle offered so much insight into the world outside of Hollins and what to do afterwards, and different places to like look at and poke and prod and see like, oh, well, you're interested in this, but we took, I took this different route to like get here. Because Michelle was an art history major, I believe, when she was here. So it was kind of cool to see that now she's working with, this startup medical research company in San Antonio, when she had come from an art history background. So that was really interesting for me to learn about.
One thing I would like to add, Mila, you did such a great job, and along with 4 others that have come before you, that they actually reached back out to Amber and myself about setting up more opportunities for people and even opening things up to the summer. So obviously they were very pleased with your work, and they have just gained FDA, they were working towards that. So now they have an abundance of work, and they were trying to reach out to the Career Center so that we can help them figure out how to scale their volume of work. So you did an excellent job, and I appreciate you representing Hollins so well.
I'm very glad to hear it. I was so happy when Rafa and Christina, the 2 supervisors I worked very closely with, texted the other intern and I were like, we got the FDA breakthrough distinction. We were like, yay, this is so exciting. We threw like a little like text chat like party. We were just like, congratulations, this is so amazing. Like, let us know if you like need anything. And they're like, if you want to come back, like, And I was like, keep that in my brain. Please and thank you.
Okay, so if there are no further questions, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up here. Christine, do you want to close us out?
Certainly. I just want to point out the wide array of opportunities and different environments and countries that people were able to work in. That's the value of the remote. We were very pleased as Amber kept in very close contact and monitoring everyone, as all the students can attest to. And some people enjoyed their positions even more than they would have in person, and other people missed the face-to-face. So the conclusions that we drew in the Career Center, certainly moving forward, we'll continue to do a mixed bag. Some things you really need to be in person, and lab is a good example of that. Other things you can do kind of in a hybrid fashion, but we will have a mixed bag, as it certainly does save expenses, and is still valuable. I want to remind everyone, we could not offer these kinds of opportunities without our fabulous hosts and our super engaged alumni. This is what makes Hollins, Missy, Judy, all of you are so special and make such a significant difference. And I know it's a lot of work on everyone's end, but we all pull together, and it really makes a very unique way to interact. Students still learn from organizations and develop the contacts. So I encourage people. Lauren has a site on LinkedIn for alumni group, and the Career Center also has a group. If you go under www.linkedin.com and click on groups, you can see both of those groups. And we want to encourage people to join, because the benefit is we all have what I like to call a circle of influence around us. So we all have our board of directors and people that would really go to bat for us. We need to help students develop that in addition to their competencies and their skills and their actual experiences. So it's a tenfold opportunity for them to learn lots of different things. So again, thank you to the host, to all the alumni involved. Lauren Walker, thank you for you and your entire office, and Barb. We couldn't do anything without you, Duck. So you're really important to us. Would anybody else like to have any closing remarks?
Christine, I just want to say to all of the students, you just had opportunities that sound amazing to me. And I like to pound you each with about 1 million different questions about all the different areas that you worked in, because they're so significant. And, I'm really so pleased that you had these great experiences, even though you had to do it remotely in a very difficult time and through a lot of different time zones and what have you. It sounds like you really persevered and got a lot out of it. So congratulations to all of you.
I'm really very proud of how the students handled themselves and how well they responded back to us and to Amber in terms of follow-up. So students, you represented us really well. Claire, you were paired with some great University of Richmond folks and you held your own. And we're really proud of you, and we really appreciate how mature and how well you handled yourselves. Any other comments from anybody?
Hi, I just got here. Sorry I'm late. Surprise. Hi, my name is Ming McDonald. I'm a junior here at Hollins. I just came off of a signature internship from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. I had another call today on a possible summer internship with the Community College of Lord Fairfax in like Middletown area in Virginia. I was talking about the PR experience I've had through the Hollins signature internship programs. And the people I was talking with were completely blown away with the amount of experience that I walked away with, both just from being an intern at Hollins and being a student, and the amount of opportunities we've been given here. So I'm pretty confident with going forward in the future, when and if I ever get a job, that it won't be as scary as I think it will be, because I've had the experience Hollins has to offer. So I'd just like to say thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Mary. Any other? It's so great to see everyone from all over. And I know it's been a challenging 2020 for everyone, but I think we have persevered, and we have learned the valuable need to practice our own resiliency and enhance our own technical skills. And so everything that we tell the students, we have learned and enhanced our skills as well. So it's always an opportunity for growth. Okay, well, let's give ourselves a high five in our reactions down below. And again, thank you all for your valuable, valuable time. We know that we can always rely on your support. And these testimonials, it's a way to keep you informed in the loop and to continue to share information. So thank you for a great session tonight, and everyone have a great evening.